It's always an exciting time here at the channel whenever we're reviewing products from brands that haven't featured before. But not only is this running shoe from a brand that hasn't appeared on the channel before, it's also the first time that they have produced a running shoe. And believe me, they have dived well and truly into the deep end with this very interesting and cool looking OmniSpeed BowTech, or as I like to call it, the Kermit the Frog shoe. So believe it or not, I've got a picture of Kermit the Frog right behind the camera there, and this really does remind me of Kermit. So same colour green. We've even got the red colour coming from the kinetic technology plate there. There's Kermit's little mouth, but that's enough of that nonsense. Let's dive into the video, tell you a bit more about this innovative running shoe, and then I'm going to be lacing them up and taking them out for their first run. So it is first impressions time here at the channel. Welcome back and thanks for tuning in again. So I actually first laid eyes on the new CEP OmniSpeed BowTech at the end of last year, and I actually featured them in my must-have running shoes of 2025 video. I've got to say a big shout out to CEP Sports for sending out a pair for the purpose of this video, and they actually saw that must-have running shoes of 2025 video, got in touch with the channel and asked if I'd like to test out a pair. And I've always been a big fan of innovation within the running sector, so I obviously jumped at the chance. So before I lace these bad boys up, let's give you a few facts and figures about this very green running shoe. So first up, they're due to release mid-July online, so not long to wait, and they're going to retail here in the UK for a pretty expensive £199. So yeah, we've got another pricey running shoe hitting the market. Weight wise, my pair comes in a UK 10 at 334 grams, which I was pretty surprised about when I popped them on the scales, because you know the brand are pitching this as a super trainer, and I think that's pretty hefty for that type of running shoe, and quite a bit heavier than a lot of the other super trainers that I've tested on the channel. You can see that we've got a very interesting looking midsole construction going on in the OmniSpeed BowTech, which we'll get onto in a bit more detail later in the video. But as far as stack height goes, we've got 37mm worth of cushioning on the heel, 30mm under the forefoot, so that gives the shoes a 7mm heel offset. And you can also see that we've got this unusual looking two-piece sort of midsole setup, and it actually reminds me and looks very similar to some of the midsoles on Puma's super shoes. And I've got to be honest, when I tried them on indoors to check the sizing, this shoe did feel very, very different on, and I'm not sure it was good different. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that midsole feels and performs once I'm running. Construction wise, we've got a lot to talk about. So starting at the top, CEP have gone with this light TPU reinforced mono mesh upper design. So we've got this very light, almost transparent upper fabric. We got some overlays running from the top lace eyelet down the midfoot and wrapping around that toe box. And CEP have also integrated their foot cage system. So again, this starts at the midfoot, works up to the laces, and that's been paired up with a kind of stretchy sort of neoprene gusseted tongue, and that's all been put in place to give you that nice snug, secure midfoot hold when you lace up the OmniSpeed BowTech. We've also got a decent level of padding around that ankle collar and a good level of structure in the back end of the shoe from a substantial heel cradle. The lace system looks pretty standard, but we do have some sort of overlays or reinforcement around the lace eyelets for a bit of extra durability. So you can see a cool looking upper design with some nice innovation, but it's when we start to take a closer look at this midsole setup that things get really interesting. So like I've already mentioned, the OmniSpeed BowTech comes with this very interesting looking two-piece midsole design that houses CEP's unique BowTech technology. Now, the brand claim that this has been designed to enhance the natural biomechanics of the foot to boost energy return while providing you with a healthier run, and they are pretty bold claims, that's for sure. So it's got me all excited to see how this feels and performs out on today's test run. Really happy to see that the brand have gone with a glass fiber reinforced P-back structure rather than a stiffer, less forgiving carbon plated system. Another interesting design feature is that we've got a sort of standard EVA foam on the heel section and a TP critical M+ foam under the forefoot. So the heel should offer good levels of stability if you do load a bit heavier through your heels, and then we've got that more performance driven, high energy returning M+ foam under the forefoot to provide you with good levels of propulsion as you transition your way to toe off. And finally, flipping the shoes over, and you can see we've got sticky, durable rubber on all the high wear areas. You can also see that we've got some big cutouts at the midfoot, and we've got this sort of channel working down the center of the heel. Now, I'm hoping that these don't turn into annoying stone traps when we are out running in the shoes later. To be fair, looking at the depth and the size of them, I think everything is going to be okay. Something else I've noticed, with this BOWTECH plate system worked into the midsole, it is very stiff and I can hardly flex it at the midfoot at all. So this is a very stiff midsole. And on that note, there you have it, the exciting new OmniSpeed BOWTECH from CEP. Now, I've got to be honest, this shoe really interests me because, like I said, when I tried it on indoors, it feels completely different to any other running shoe that I've tried on. And believe me, over the years, I have tried and tested out lots and lots of different running shoes. And you know, this is a very bold move by the brand, especially when you take into consideration, this is the first ever running shoe that they've designed. Now, what that says to me is that they must have a lot of faith in this system. Now, for me, I'm not so sure about it, so I guess there's only one way to find out. So I'm off to get changed, I'm going to grab the cameras, and we'll see you all out on the run. Okay, so straight off the bat, I've literally just crossed the road from home and started the run. Probably done about half a mile, and like it felt indoors, it feels very different to running. And I've got to be honest, we're always transparent on this channel. When I first put them on indoors, I really wasn't sure whether I wanted to test this shoe out because it just felt so different, and it felt like that BOWTECH technology in the midsole was kind of digging into the front of my heel and it didn't quite line up with my foot shape. Now I've got running, I'm glad to say it doesn't feel like that. It does feel very different, but it's not uncomfortable at all. And this is one bouncy shoe. So I think we're going to have a fun run today. So we're going to try and get in 7 to 8 miles like we normally do on our test runs. So let's get out there. It's going to be a warm one. It's about 26, 27 degrees, which is definitely hot for the UK, but I'm sure we can manage it. So let's get out there. Let's test this shoe. Okay, that's the first mile ticked off, and the longer I spend in the shoe, the more normal it starts to feel. Still different, still bouncy, but I'm definitely getting used to that midsole construction. Right, 2 miles done, and there's actually a nice bit of breeze down by the sea here, so it's cooling me off. Next update isn't really shoe related, it's more body related. So after the Serpent Trail 20k, I had a bit of a sore right calf and a sore left foot. So I haven't run since that race. Happy to say I managed to get in with Kate to get a sports massage, and everything's feeling good today. So body's all right, that tension's gone. That's why it's so important to get regular deep tissue sports massage, and hopefully we can get on with training now, build the miles up each week as we prepare to head out over to France in the new adventure bus. Okay, I've just cruised past 3 miles. Next thing to talk about is fit. So when I spoke to the guys from CEP, they said that the shoe does size small, so I went up half a size to a UK 10, and it is just right. So just the right amount of length in the toe box. I think if I would have stuck with my normal UK 9.5, my slightly larger right foot would have been up against the end of the shoe. So I definitely recommend going up at least half a size. Okay, so we've reached the turning point, and another thing relating to the fit of this upper is that foot cage and that stretchy neoprene gusseted tongue that CEP have worked into the upper seems to be doing a good job. So I've got a really nice secure lockdown around my midfoot, no movement of my foot inside the shoe, and really good heel hold. So far the fit and the performance of the upper is doing really good, but let's finish this run off. Let's get back to the studio. Okay, so we are 6.54 miles into the test run. And like I said at the beginning, from trying it on indoors and to when I first stepped out the door and started running, this shoe still feels very different to anything I've run in. It's been a really interesting experience. So we're going to finish off this test run. I think it's going to be about 7.5, I don't know, 8 miles when we get back. And then we'll wrap up with a quick conclusion on how the OmniSpeed BowTech has performed out on its first run. So there you go, test run complete in the new CEP OmniSpeed BowTech. I've had a shower, I'm feeling a lot fresher now because I was a big sweaty mess by the time I got home, but we managed to clock up 7.8 miles out there today, and a very hot 7.8 miles. And I would actually say that that's probably the hottest run of the year so far for me. But let's talk all about how this new running shoe performed out there today. The first thing I've got to say is I really enjoyed the feel of this lightweight, breathable mono mesh upper. I also like this sort of foot cage system that CEP have integrated into that design, because it made me feel very secure, very well locked into that upper design, and it seemed to work well for my foot shape. Also, overall comfort was good out there today, so no hot spots, no irritation or anything like that. And I always think that's a super positive thing when it's your first time in a new shoe. So the upper has passed the test as far as fit, feel and performance goes, but I suppose we should discuss this very unusual looking midsole design with its BowTech system. Now, I think this is the first time I've run in a shoe that has a separate forefoot and heel section, and I could definitely notice that when I first started the run, and it did take me a bit of time to get used to, but there is no denying that this BowTech unit gives us energy return, because this is a very bouncy running shoe. There was a couple of times on the second half of the run where I thought I'd pick the pace up a bit just to test the shoes out of those quicker tempos, and for me this is where they kind of sprung to life. And I think a lot of it was the fact that I was on more of a forefoot strike at that kind of pace, and then we've got that critical M+ foam in the forefoot section of the midsole, and that's paired up with that BowTech system. Obviously it did feel good and they felt like they were pushing me along nicely. However, when I was running at those slower tempos, I really could feel the fact that this heel section is constructed out of that firmer, sort of more standard EVA foam, and I'm not sure I was as big a fan of that feel. So personally for me, I think the OmniSpeed BowTech just feels more exciting when you're running at those quicker paces and you're up on a forefoot strike. When I first started to up the pace, the shoes are actually sort of feeling a bit like a slightly heavier sort of old school original Nike Alpha Fly, and this forefoot midsole section was giving me a similar level of bounce, and we've obviously got this decoupled midsole setup, so I was definitely getting original Alpha Fly vibes. However, the weight increase on this shoe compared to the Alpha Fly was a noticeable difference. And you know, I'm not sure with a running shoe tipping the scales at 334 grams in a UK 10, you can call it a super trainer, because I personally think that's just too heavy for a performance driven running shoe, and I really do think it had a kind of negative impact on the overall performance of the OmniSpeed BowTech. Nowadays, we really are sport for choice when it comes to sort of plated super trainers, and we've got lots of shoes to choose from lots of different running brands, including Saucony's Endorphin Speeds at 262 grams. We've also got New Balance's Elite V4 at 261 grams, Nike's Zoom Fly 6 at 265 grams, or something like ASIC's non-plated Super Blast at only 250 grams. So you can see lots to choose from, and all considerably lighter than these. Obviously, with my pair being a UK 10 at 334 grams, which is heavy for a running shoe, but you can imagine if you're a UK 11, 11.5 or even a 12, it is going to be a very heavy pair of running shoes. So I really do think this is something that CEP need to look into in the future. Try and bring the overall weight of the shoe down 30, 40 or 50 grams and try and get it under 300 grams. Like I mentioned earlier, I am a big fan of innovation in the running industry, and I really like it when brands approach things from a different angle, thinking outside the box, rather than just copying what all the other brands are doing. And you know, CEP are putting 3 years of design, development and testing into the OmniSpeed BowTech, and I personally think this clever plated midsole system does exactly what it says on the tin, and it creates a platform that's very springy and bouncy and high energy returning and fun to run on. But I really do think they need to look into the overall weight of the shoe, because I definitely noticed those 334 grams towards the end of the run. I'd say where the OmniSpeed BowTech might fit in is with runners that are aiming to run a 4.5 hour marathon, and they want that kind of super shoe feel, but they want a bit more substance and stability. So where you get this midsole section on the heel with that slightly firmer EVA foam, we've obviously got that foot cage integrated into the upper, and we got the actual BowTech plated system itself. They did feel nice and planted and stable on today's run, whereas some of those more sort of lightweight stripped back super shoes don't feel the most stable shoes to run in. But if you're running a fair bit quicker than that in your training or racing, then I think the overall weight of the shoe is probably going to be a bit too heavy for you. So I would personally choose a lighter option. And on that note, it brings today's first impressions video of this very interesting new OmniSpeed BowTech to a close. Really hope you've enjoyed it. Really hope you found it helpful. Don't forget, if you have, to like, comment and subscribe, as it is a big help to the channel. Super simple to do. Just click on that little red box down there in the corner. But best of all, it is completely free. While you're there, don't forget to hit that bell icon as well, because then you'll be notified when we upload any new exciting content. It'd also be great to hear your thoughts, guys. So what do you think about a so-called super trainer that weighs in at 334 grams in a UK 10? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But until next time, guys, thanks for watching. It's really appreciated. We'll be back soon with some more interesting running content. And as always, stay safe and keep on running. You can see that we've got a very interesting midsole construction going on in the OmniSpeed BowTech, and blah, 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 blah. Kind of stretchy neoprene gusseted tongue design. So this has been put in place to give you that nice secure midfoot hold when you lace up the BowTech on. This shoe really interests me because, like I said, when I tried it on, it pretty much feels very different to any other running shoe that I've